First, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, fresh from his selfie with US President Donald Trump, is tonight in more familiar company. He's a keynote speaker at the UK Labour Annual Conference. Now, this follows his attendance at a left-wing global summit on Friday, where he met with Democrat presidential candidates and former New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern to discuss how progressives could push their policies across the Western world.
We've increased the number of asylum seekers who we take. We abolish temporary protection visas to give people that security to fully participate in society. People who'd been in Australia, some for more than a decade, they weren't going back anywhere.
Fascinating, isn't it? Basically, Albo was providing advice to a bunch of debt junkies who have all left or are in the process of leaving their countries in a state of despair. The opposition has accused the Prime Minister of wasting taxpayer money on left-wing gabfests that aren't, James, really in the national interest.
Yeah, and it's a pretty fair claim. You remember 4 years ago when Scott Morrison went to a Trump rally and Anthony Albanese was all up in arms because Morrison was apparently putting his own political interest ahead of that of the nation. Now Anthony Albanese is attending Labor conferences in the UK and progressive talk fests. I suppose the problem with this is that he hasn't had a meeting with Trump, but he's schmoozing with Democratic presidential nominees. He hasn't talked to Trump about AUKUS, but he claims it's important he's in the UK to talk about AUKUS. He won't meet with Farage. We'll talk about that later, but he very well could, the same as he has not met with Trump. And, of course, to be hanging around with Jacinda Ardern, I mean, really. You know, he's being held up in the UK as a bit of a poster child of progressives because, of course, he had a massive election victory here. And it's quite galling, I think, for many Australians to see our Prime Minister over there in the UK tutoring them all on what a great job he's doing running the country. God forbid they take his advice. You wouldn't wish that upon anybody.
No, you wouldn't wish that upon your worst enemy, would you? But, you know, what a showstopper of a lineup, James. You've got Anthony Albanese, you've got Keir Starmer, Jacinda Ardern, Democrat candidates, even the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, fresh off recognising Palestine as well. So, what a lineup. What do? Sit there, you know, pat each other on the back for their so-called progressive policies?
And that's the thing. They're ideological mates,
and this is the problem.
And that's the argument. Is this really in the national interest?
No, it's not. Of course it's not in the national interest. He's traipsing about on the world stage on the taxpayer dime doing God knows what, chatting with God knows who. But I just want to talk about the comments that he made there. We played some of it about what he was talking about in that progressive summit. He was talking about how Australia's immigration system was strong, and he said that he then went on to attack the far right for wanting to own nationalism. Well, firstly, I don't think that our immigration policy is strong, full stop. I mean, we've let in 1.1 million people into this country. That's not strong. It's provided, it's put a lot of pressure on housing. It's put a lot of pressure on infrastructure. So clearly the welcome mat is open under this big Australia policy that Anthony Albanese is running. But secondly, he attacks the far right for wanting their own nationalism. Well, hang on again. Again, this is where this debate gets lost all the time. It is not far right to have a conversation about immigration, yet Anthony Albanese is on the world stage professing it as far right. And this is exactly why we can't have a debate about immigration.
I'm just curious as to why nationalism is a dirty word. What's wrong with being proud of your country?
Exactly. What's wrong with waving the Australian flag? Well, we know that. I mean, we saw it in the Marches for Australia. Everyone who went there was tarnished with the same brush a couple of weeks ago because, you know, a group of neo-Nazis rocked up who were booed overall by the crowds, by the way. But everyday mums and dads were being called racist for going. But you should be proud of your Australia.
The other funny thing is he was boasting about continuing the sovereign borders policy in terms of stopping boats. But that was a Liberal policy, wasn't it?
It was a Liberal policy under Tony Abbott.
He's claiming credit for not scrapping it.
Oh, well,
so,
you know,
I mean,
well, again...
faint praise.
Well done, Albo, on the world stage. Goodness me.